welcome back to Selector Spread WIXOSS. This is episode 8. This world is my property, and I have Skyline here.
Hello, everyone.
Yep. So we were talking about, off air about this episode and interesting stuff that happened. I mean, some weird things at the ending, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And basically, we jump into this with Iona kind of explaining more in detail about Mayu, like where she's from and her origin story. And I guess she was a girl who, I guess, was born with some kind of sickness. They didn't tell us what it really was, but all she knew was being in a secluded room her entire life. She didn't know anything about the outside world. I think she didn't even know there was an outside world at all until she started reading books and started figuring out there actually are other people in the world, and she can make friends with these people if she got out there. But yeah, so what did you think of her introduction? I mean, I was like, kind of, again, they didn't really
Uh,
explain what's wrong with her.
on one hand, I'm thinking this has got to be one of the most heavy-handed kind of shut-in otaku neat references I ever saw
Hmm.
Mario Kata try to do. Is Mayu like the neat, the hikikomori just kind of closed in? Is this what this is commentary on? And I thought, no, that's not entirely true. But going through it, I try to look. The very little of it makes any actual sense. In a way, it's like, why is she enclosed? Is there a reason? And I'm thinking, well, neither since just taking it at face value, since both Shiro and Kuro are created beings, they wouldn't have the language or the vocabulary or whatever to be able to think, well, maybe she's sick or dying or doing something like that at that point. So they tell you everything you need to know about Mayu except for the most important part. Why?
Yeah, I found it really confusing, like why she's in this room and why she
Mm-hmm.
excluded. Is she got a disease that's very you catch it fast or what? Did she got Ebola? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, come on, what's going on with her? I mean, they don't really tell you
Yeah.
what's
And
going on with her.
it adds that interesting little just really it's a wrinkle
Hmm.
in it in the way they present it, because I thought that she would have infected and spread through WIXOSS like the titles are trying to
Right,
explain, but it was given to her. It was given to her as a gift,
right.
along with all the books and all the toys and all the things they made to make sure she doesn't go insane apparently in that little room. And then that came to her as a gift. So did she infect it and spread through it that way, because or did she create it or what? It's kind of like that. Kind of feels like that piece of spinach in your teeth you can't quite get out. It's like, God,
Right.
it's annoying. Can you get just a little bit more?
Right. And like you said, I mean, she gets the Wicross game eventually, it comes across her. And in the beginning, it's just a card game, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or anything like that, Magic. It's just, a regular card game. But Mayu starts, having these, I guess she starts imagining things. And she actually
Hmm.
imagines, like you said, Shiro and Kuro, which are, Iona and Tama. She imagines
Hmm.
these two, they come to life in her mind. And so she's acting out these battles, and she's basically creating the game world as she's doing these fake battles in her head. And she even goes as
Hmm.
far as to create the rules, what happens when you win, when you lose. And you get basic in detail. Even if you win the game, your wish, I mean, if you lose the game, your wish is reversed basically. So they gave the example of a girl who wanted to be a florist. Okay, she
Hmm.
lost, and now she cannot see flowers, cannot smell flowers, and she basically doesn't know what the word flower is. So the whole world gets taken away from her. But if you lose, I mean even if you win, sorry, I mixed this up. You become the card basically, and the selector you're using, whatever, becomes the girl, and she lives your dream through you, your body. So it's like if you win, you still lose. If you lose, you don't win. I mean, so that's kind of like I said, she creates these rules, and it's kind of messed up.
It's one of those occasions where I feel like pretty bad for not looking into the actual real world uh, game rules for WeCross and all
Hmm.
that out there, mainly because I'm lazy, no time, blah blah blah, and also my steadfast thing that an adaptation has to stand on its own 2 feet. It can't make constant references back to another source to be able to tell a complete story. So what the game world background is for the real world we cross, don't know. But like I said earlier, it seems like the game already existed, and she used it as some sort of inspiration to create the selector thing.
Right, the selector system, which still doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense because if it's all imaginary in her head, how did it become real and how
Why
did these
did it
girls become
come
real?
out into the real world? I don't know.
Yeah,
Why is she trapped inside a room and unable to escape? We'll probably figure that out come the next couple of episodes, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can see it being legit is if she died, okay, and she has these ideas of this game. They kept her brain. Now she's this brain computer that runs the game.
Wow, that's insane. That is crazy.
Yeah,
Or, or, or
yeah, I
she's like
mean,
some
you
sort
could see
of
that.
magic agent, or just something like
Right.
that.
They're gonna throw in some kind of like reason of why that the game actually became real. Did she make the wish, and is there a selector before her that granted this
Mm.
wish that they haven't shown yet? I mean, they have the grandma still, so I'm like, she's somewhat involved in game making, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she was the original, and then through
Yeah.
all that got pushed out, and you got Mayu, how she came around.
Goes back to my first suspicions of
Yeah,
Grandma from the first episode of the first show I wrote for.
because if she in the beginning says about she kind of was, I guess, somewhere had her hand involved in the Cross game. So it's
Hmm.
like I could see that being maybe she gave, maybe she was the maid at Mayu's house back in the day
Hmm.
and took look after the girl and all that. But yeah, that's still like you said, we don't really know until they explain it. And I guess Anna reveals that Mayu's wish further to take revenge on those who live in the outside world, because she sees it as not being fair. So she sees it the cycle that she fills the girls will have to repeat this cycle because that's her way of getting revenge on all these people that I guess live normal lives compared to her. And it's kind of screwed up still. I mean, again, they did definitely show you that Mayu
Well,
had a really screwed up childhood.
now that I think about it just a little bit more, that's hardly really surprising. I mean, she's been isolated, hasn't had to develop a sense of sympathy or empathy whatsoever, so
Hmm.
she's default childlike state, selfish. Give me things. I want this. Oh, you're pissing me off. Now I'm going to make you pay. That kind of thing.
Right.
And
And
so,
yeah.
there's a great deal of envy and jealousy and mixed up into that. So, yeah, the whole revenge angle kind of makes a very, very twisted sense in that regard.
Right, and I guess when Mayu kind of watches these fights with Ruko in season one and half of season two, I guess the rules she sees that something's changing with the Selector and Elrig cycle. I guess she sees
Hmm.
there's changes going to be coming through the game here soon. And because Tama met her and Tama had built this relationship with Ruko and with all the other girls, especially like Toei and Yuzuki. So it's very interesting to see that.
It's really funny. I'm thinking of computers now because a girl becomes an Elrig becomes a girl becomes an Elrig, a copy becomes a copy becomes a copy. You're going to lose information in there.
Right, it makes sense.
The copy is eventually going to become corrupted to a certain point to where it's not going to play like the original used to.
Yeah, I mean, Tama, like, she's been there from the very beginning, so it tells you that the game's come a long way. And we don't really know the timeline either, how long she's been
That
doing this.
that was something that was something I was amazed at watching it the second or third time through about how they made it feel like it's been going on forever,
Hmm.
but it could be a couple of months.
Right, it could be a couple months. And,
Hmm.
for all we know, it could be all in Mayu's head. That means she met all these girls before and just suffered a traumatic thing, and she's, in a coma,
Yeah.
and she's just living this through a dream. Which I would not want the
Oh,
series to
sweet.
have, because, everyone doesn't like the dream ending. I don't think people like that kind of
No,
ending. It's very lazy.
incredibly.
Right. And then Iona and Tama kind of seek to be friends with Mayu once again and and to free all the Eldrigs. So I guess they found that they have a way of doing that, but they don't know how it's gonna work. And Lilith kind of sees this as these three kind of talking and chatting, and she's like, "Well, do you guys forget we're playing a game here?" And she kind of takes her revenge and just like, "No, we're gonna continue the game. Talk later." And she takes Tama, and there's some lines that are kind of very suggestive. Like Lilith entering me, and I'm feeling the darkness. It's like, are they trying to be like some kind of edgy rock song here? You know,
Oh, it yeah, that was kind of that entire
it was.
transformation thing was kind of regrettable on a couple of levels. I mean, really cliched, really forced, awkward. There was, I just
I'll
I'm
say a
trying to
correct word would be a little rapey. It's a little on that
yeah,
line.
oh,
That's
little
like,
little.
it's like forcing her to become something different, and we got the
Hmm.
whole Tom is like freaking out and making noises, and she doesn't really like it. I mean, it's not what she's about, and Lilith actually successfully infects her, and Tama becomes Dark Tama, I guess you'd call her. That's what I would call her. and
Mm.
she just beats the hell out of Iona, even so far as breaking the card ring. I'm like, that's not. I don't understand how that's possible, but
Yeah, how does
okay.
that work? How does that work? What are we doing? At this point, it's vintage WeCross just making up these things as they go along.
Right, or they're trying to make it like, this is a serious threat. She can actually interact with the real world now, destroying objects. It's like, if that's the case, then why don't you just send Tama to attack Ruko and just finish it off? It's
Yeah.
like, she could obviously fire one shot Ruko, one punch, but yeah, that she beats, to Iona and she's laying there. There's actually blood, not a lot of blood, but I mean, she's got cuts and bruises all over her. So it's kind of like,
Hmm.
oh, the game kind of escalated to now it's, instead of this friendly card game, to like this fighting game. Now it's Mortal Kombat. So now these girls are just gonna start beating the hell out of each other now because. And then Tama kind of changes back to normal, and she's just like, "What happened?" Like it's a different persona, I guess, for her. And
Yep.
yeah, then you have Akira on the sideline, kind of watching this fight, and she feels rejected because Liv is talking about Tama, how she likes her and all this stuff, and Akira doesn't really like that till afterwards. They're kind of on a bridge, and Akira, I guess you could say she snaps and basically stabs Lilith with a pin.
Yes, yes. The As I've been saying for like the past 2 weeks,
Hmm.
you ought to be careful of the monster you create. Go back and read some Frankenstein there, Iona,
Right, it's true.
or Ulith, or whoever you are right now.
Yeah, maybe Mayu, maybe someone else, who knows. But yeah, it stabbed her with a pin and just kind of walked off like it was no big deal. She's just like, yeah, whatever. And then Lilith in the end's laying on the ground, just kind of. I'm not sure she's gonna die because I mean she got stabbed in the side. I mean I'm not sure if people can die from that kind of injury, but if she doesn't get any help anytime soon, she'll probably bleed out. But do you think Lilith's dead? I don't think so.
No, I don't think she's dead. No, I don't think she's dead. How she's going to come out of that is going to be, another part of the story. I mean, she comes from a wealthy family,
Hmm.
and all sorts of other things will come up because of that. So we'll have to wait and see what's going on. But no, she's not dead, and she might get like a dreaded crippling injury from it, probably.
Right. Yeah. And this other thing is weird because she always said in the beginning that she likes inflicting damage and hurting people. So it's like, how does someone who likes
Hmm.
that get it when they get affected by their own thing? How's that gonna affect her mentally? Like, is it gonna make her weary of everybody, or is she just gonna laugh it off like, I knew you're capable of this. This is what I wanted. I could see her just like,
That bit, I like that.
yeah,
I like that bit best.
right, yeah. It's like, I knew you were gonna do something like this, and
It's
it's no big deal. Whatever.
it's kind of like, yes, to the likes of us, this is just foreplay.
Right. Yeah, it's like, say you could at least try a little harder.
Yeah,
Or
you could have tried a little harder to kill
yeah,
me.
if
Yeah.
you're gonna try to kill
Oh
me, at
goodness.
least do it right the first time.
Go for the neck. The neck.
Yeah, or the eye.
Oh
Do a
yeah.
magic trick like the Joker in Batman. But yeah. So what do you think of the episode overall?
Really good. Really good. I mean, it's like I keep on calling it vintage Wheatcross, and the
Hmm.
fact that they just keep on adding wham after wham after wham after moment after moment after moment, and leaving you feeling like you've got something explained to you until you go, wait, you've got what? No, no. Okay, it's the next episode preview right now. Okay, well, I guess we'll wait next time.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
so, yeah.
I think it's meant to be like it. There's a lot of things that are like it's cool, but then they go to, like you said, they leave a lot of things unanswered, such as
Hmm.
Mayu creating this world, how did it become real, all that. And there's some other things that are just kind of up in the air, like the whole dark girl, light girl thing is a little weird. How they kind of do that in the last minute to,
Hmm.
kind of gives them an excuse of why Tama would beat Ruka and why they would put it against each other. And I do like the whole thing that they started off as like light and dark, and they both switch roles. So now I mean,
Hmm.
that's kind of interesting, but we all know they're gonna figure out some way to. They either mentioned it before to save the other girls. Maybe Ruka doesn't really have to give a wish at all, and maybe Tama and Iona can figure it out. And
Yeah,
actually, good.
the best way to win is to not have a wish, I guess, huh?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the season one it kind of worked for her, but she didn't get screwed in the first season, so. But
Yeah.
extras from the episode, Dark Tama is probably the highlight from the episode for me. I mean, I just like characters that you don't expect to flip, and they did it with Tama, who's in the beginning this lovable character, and then you see her, she's evil and like, inflicting damage. For me, it'd be like putting Last Order she's this cute character, and then flip her to like
No,
accelerator
don't,
status. It's
don't
it's
do that
just
to me.
no, I'm saying
Oh,
it's just
that's
for me. It's
terrible.
always interesting to see a character that's always pure turn into this dark character.
Oh goodness. I thought it was a little cliched until they bridged it back
Uh-huh.
to what we saw in the very first episode of the very first
Right?
series,
Yeah,
that
that's true.
that crazy-eyed monster that got impaled by the column. Yeah, you got to take that plot point and pay off on at some point, don't you?
Right. Because it makes me think that Rico may have seen the future of that. Because she does wake up
Hmm.
after that. It's like a nightmare. So it's like maybe Rico actually knows how things are going to end, but
Mm.
has to piece it
It's
together.
clairvoyance, but maybe clair empathy of that kind of, getting a sense of the feelings that are going to be coming up sometime soon.
Right. That the world's not so pretty and fun. She's like, oh
Hmm.
crap, there's extra people get killed. So it's like, oh no. But yeah, for me it was kind of cool just seeing Tom a different persona for her to take over and just even though like you said it was cliche and the whole thing of her not remembering what she did afterwards is like, what are you, the Hulk now? Just you just forget what she did and you're like, oh,
Hmm.
what did I do? So it's kind of weird.
Well, they did say Iona took over, or Ulith took
Hmm.
over. So, Ulith was acting through the power of Tama.
Right, and that may be what level 5 really is. When the Selector is able to manipulate the Elrig, so far they can actually
Ooh.
change the Elrig for their own personality.
That's cool. That would explain, why Iona at that point is starting to be a bit more empathic, a bit more likable.
Right, yeah, I mean, she is starting to say
Good
something,
point.
things like friends and stuff, and she wants to help everyone through Rico
Good
influence.
point.
And Akira fighting back, man, I was kind of happy she did because, right now before that she was a wreck. She was just, like you said, this little monster that Il was creating, a molding. And now Akira kind of finally snapped back at her. I guess, you know, biting back was, a way of getting back at her. And but like I said at the end, Lilith probably won't care about being stabbed. After all, it's not her body. And she's just like, whatever. It's another day for her, I guess.
Oh, good.
And we did mention this a few times. Mayu creating this world of WIXOSS. How did she do it? Is she magic? Is she a brain in a computer? Who knows? We don't really know what's going on with her.
What I'm going with at this point is that the game existed first. It got
Hmm.
brought to her, and it inspired her, and whatever kind of power she has to do this is yet to be explained.
Right, and my theory is with the grandma. Grandma has to be somewhere involved in this. Either she was the
She better.
housemaid that took care of Mayu at the time, and and saw her, talking to herself about the game. And that's another thing I want to mention that when you see the characters kind of talking to each other, that's all Mayu doing all the voices in her head, basically.
Yes. Yes, thank you for bringing it up. I had forgotten about that briefly.
Yeah, because she's actually doing Tama's voice and she's doing Lila's voice at both the same time. But it's because there's a moment where she's moving her mouth at the same time while the other girl's talking. So it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that girl's got mental. You can obviously tell she's got mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Grandma saw that and was like, "That's an interesting idea. Yeah, maybe some of the cards can actually interact with the girls. Maybe you can build this kind of system. It's all there's got to be some kind of hardware that's allowing this to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if there are just dolls that kind of come to kind of like Angelic Lair if you've ever seen that. Maybe like
Mm-hmm.
that. Maybe the L rigs are actually dolls that come to life when you activate the game or something. I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's up in the air. I mean, after all, we haven't really seen a lot of sci-fi in this series, so I'm not sure of the timeline. When this takes place, if it's modern, future, or whatever. So, but overall, I think the episode was pretty good, I guess.
Good stuff.
Yeah, me too. I think good stuff. And we only got, I think, 4 or 5 episodes left, and we're done with this. And
And we are done. Yes, we are.
we'll see what happens with Cross if they do a movie, maybe. It all depends on how this ends.
Is that going to become an uncomfortable trend later on in the future? You get 2 series out of it, and then, hey, movie.
I hope not,
I know.
because it tends to be a recap.
This is true. And then another 2 years before they get to the actual, real movie.
Right, yep. Madoka, I would say.
No. Yep.
But anyway, that's been the episode. We'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye, everybody.